Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And welcome everybody. In 2012, as protests broke out all over India, particularly in Delhi around the Nirbhaya case, we felt a deep sense of tragedy. But also that something else was about to happen, a performance activism, a new feminist impulse, and that it was all in the resurgence. As young and old marched the streets of Delhi, all chanting, "We want justice, we want justice." On 31st of December in JNU, we had organized a meeting where artists, and this is where Maya Rao first came to perform for the first time her now famous walk. Our academic course started taking a new direction. We wanted to go into this sort of performance activism even more, explore it, and we started looking at some of the concepts, at least from where I come from, that's theatre and performance studies, on the question of how do you perform citizenship. Professor Anupama Roy, our speaker today, her well-known monograph, Gendered Citizenship, became our reference and a very, very critical resource base. Since then, we have worked extensively with Professor Roy, and Anupama, as you all know, is a best-known expert on citizenship, and as we progressed with the project and the publications, we tried in various ways to look at how different ways citizenship has been performed historically, is being performed now, and there were so many references in her work on the performance manifestation, on the question of actually looking at theatre examples. And as you saw, Orchid Ne Tukre, which is really a theatre version of Urvashi Bhutalia's The Other Side of Silence, we actually opened up a very long dialogue, a critical dialogue, new conceptualization in our discipline. And since then, Professor Anupama Roy and we in Theatre and Performance Studies have worked on lots of projects together, international projects with University of Warwick, with political science, social science scholars, and scholars from theatre performance studies and other related art disciplines, and dance studies of Vimalazia. So, her numerous books on citizenship, performing citizenship, has always been a very important reference point in starting of these dialogues. Like, she's the co-author of the book, Election Commission of India, Institutionalizing Domestic Uncertainties. Citizenship India, in India, and Mapping Citizenship in India by Oxford University Press, and of course, Gendered Citizenship, Historical and Conceptual Explorations. She has co-edited Dimension of Constitutional Democracy and Poverty, Gender and Migration in South Asia. Her research articles have been numerous, appeared in various national and international journals, including Asian Studies Research, Australian Feminist Studies, Citizenship Studies, Critical Asian Studies, Contributions to Indian Sociology, Economics and Political Weekly, Seminar, Election Law Journal, and Studies in Indian Politics. So whenever we were trying to, look for social science references, theoretical, critical framework, Anupama had a new book or a new article, which of course was, so immensely important for us. So it really gives me great pleasure today to actually start and have a dialogue on a new book. And she just told us that this is the first time there's a dialogue around a new book. So, Citizenship Regimes, Law and Belonging. Here is a copy of the book. So, for us too, the CAA NRC, which is the subject of her book, has been very important. Because, that's where we sort of started seeing this, how sit-ins can also be a very important sort of performance of resistance. It ties up with a lot of these sit-in protests, like the Black Lives Matter, the Scarborough protest, as we know, where students sat in bars and everywhere for days and months trying to sort of create a dialogue. And therefore, today this is our third JNUTA initiative, and these are dialogues. Some of you have been here before, and this is between faculty colleagues from JNU, other universities, faculty and student interactions, and this is where we like to bring up new publications, new books which are being written by our teachers. So also, and why I started with our dialogue with her, that we hope that it will open up a lot of interdisciplinary dialogue, which is so important for JNU and the need of the academic disciplines. And who better to be a discussant today than Professor Akhil Ranjan Dutta, and we welcome you, sir, Professor and former head of the Department of Political Science at Gauhati University. He's a pioneer in contextualizing politically and culturally these sort of trends and events in India, particularly relating to the Northeast. And we know how important NRC and CAA has been in context of Assam. And it's very different from us, but it's so important to see them in all its sort of, multiple threads, in its plurality on how different parts of India, different Indian citizens respond to these things in different ways and build up resistance from different positions. Professor Dutta's work has always explored political, cultural, and ideological orientations through encounters between the common citizens in the rural environment, and later his subsequent exposure to diverse, secular, it's a word which he has used himself, an inclusive academic and cultural atmosphere of Cotton College Gauhati and the rich and progressive intellectual setting in the University of Delhi. A bilingual author in Assamese and in English and a political commentator, Professor Dutta is closely connected with the social and cultural movements in Northeast India. He is a popular columnist in several leading Assamese dailies. He is a regular commentator and contributor on Assam's politics in leading national and international journals and television channels, including the Economic and Political Weekly and Al Jazeera. He serves as an executive editor of Notun Podati, a socio-cultural magazine published from Gauhati. A passionate advocate of interdisciplinary social science scholarship, Professor Dutta presently serves as the honorary chairperson of the Brahmaputra Institute of Research and Development, India, and is the president of the Social Science Research Community and India Transcending Borders for Sustainable Alternatives. And what is particularly important for us, and I'm really thrilled about it, that in his more than 2 decades of teaching at Gauhati University, Professor Dutta has served the Gauhati University Teachers Association as its General Secretary for 3 tenures and Vice President for 2 tenures and President in the year 2019 and 20. Professor Dutta has also been a visiting fellow at the Center for Political Studies in JNU and in the Department of Political Science, University of Delhi in March 2020. Apart from his numerous research publications in reputed international journals like Social Change, Studies in Indian Politics and Advances in Applied Sociology, Professor Dutta has authored and edited several books, both in Assamese and English. Some of his significant edited volumes include Human Security in Northeast India, Issues and Policies, Political Theory, Issues, Concepts and Debates, Cultural Ideology, Politics, Indian Politics, Issues, Institutions and Processes, The Conscientious Statesman, Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya in Assam Legislative Assembly. Professor Dutta's new book is Hindutva Regime in Assam, Saffron in the Rainbow. It's a Sage publication which has come out in 2021, and is a very seminal text to understand the contemporary scenario outside of North Indian politics to a large extent. We welcome him heartily and hope that this will be a significant dialogue to understand the current scenario and also help to build a public opinion, public debates, and even some sort of resistance through academic and other modes of dialogue. We all know that 30th September, the CAA case is going to come up in the Supreme Court. So I think it's a very timely debate, and I invite Anupama and Professor Dutta to come to the table and take it.